Hey kiddos, today we're going to be talking about graphing systems of linear inequalities. So a system of inequalities is basically when you have more than one. So just like what we were doing in the last lesson where we're graphing inequalities, meaning that our line is going to look a little different, we're going to be shading on the top of the line or the bottom of the line. We're going to do the same thing except we're going to be graphing two of those on the same graph. Okay, so quick review, let's go over again how we graph a regular linear inequality. So again, when we look at our inequality, we're making a couple decisions. So we have to think about four different things here. The first thing we're looking at is slope. So remember, that's the number in front of x, that's our rise over run when you're in y is greater than or less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to mx plus b. So our slope here is 3 over 4. So slope is rise over run, it dictates movement. How do you get from one point to the next point? So according to the slope, a positive 3 in the numerator, positive 4 in the denominator, we're going to go up 3 units, and we're going to go right 4 units. But none of that matters if we don't have a starting point. So that's why we look at our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is -5. So that means we're going to start at -5, of course, on the y-axis because it's our y-intercept. And now we have the general shape of our linear expression. Now what we have to do is we have to figure out the inequality stuff. So looking at the inequality, we can make two decisions based on that. So we look and it's greater than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So because it has or equal to, that means we're going to have a solid line. Remember, or equal to means that the line is included in the answer. So it's a solid line. Greater than means that all of the solutions that are going to work, all the points that could work to make this inequality true, are above the line. So we're going to shade on top. Okay, all of the area on top of the line will have the points that make this inequality true. Okay, now that we have all the information, we can go ahead and graph. So we're going to start at -5 on the y-axis. That's going to be our first point. We're going to follow our slope going up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to go right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we can repeat that process one more time. 1, 2, 3, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you can repeat that process going forward or backwards as many times as you want. I just like to have 3 points on my line. Now I'm going to connect those with a solid line. So you can either use your line tool or you can just try to be as careful as you can when you connect these dots. Okay. And then according to our shading, we're shading on top of the line. So remember, on top of the line is going towards the greater values on the y-axis. So we're going to shade everything up here. And you don't have to be super clean in your shading. Okay? Just scribble, 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 and shade on top of the line. Okay, so quick review on how to graph a linear inequality. Now that we know how to do that, we are going to be talking about graphing systems. So graphing systems is very similar. You're going to do the same exact steps, except you're graphing two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use different colors. Okay, so I'm going to graph my first inequality using one color. I'm going to graph the second one using a different color. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the overlap, right? We're looking for where the two colors are overlapping. Because essentially what we're looking for are any points that will make both inequalities work at the same time. Okay, that's essentially what we're looking for. And so we're looking for the overlap. Which points are going to make the first inequality work? Which points are going to make the second inequality work? And if we see both of those points making the inequalities work, then that's what we want, the overlap. Okay, so let's look at our first example. And again, steps are exactly the same. Okay, they're not changing, we're just doing them twice. Okay, so we have our first inequality on the left. I'm going to go ahead and do that one in this purple color. So I go through my 4 steps again. My slope is -3 over 2. According to the slope, I'm going down 3 units because the 3 is a negative. I'm going right 2 units because the 2 is positive. Okay, my y-intercept is -2, and again, of course, that's on the y-axis. My line looking at the inequality is going to be dotted because I don't have an or equals to symbol underneath. And then I'm shading on the bottom because the symbol for the inequality says y is less than. So that means the answers are less than the line. the points that will make this inequality true are below the line. That's essentially what the inequality is saying. Okay. Now that I have those four things, I can go ahead and graph the first line. So I'm going to start at -2 on the y-axis. According to my slope, I'm going down 3, 1, 2, 3, and right 2. I'll repeat that again, down 1, 2, 3, and right 2. Okay, now this is super important. When I graph the line, I want it to go all the way across the graph. So I'm just going to try to be as clean as I can be. Okay, again, it's just a sketch, so just make sure your line goes all the way across the graph. And then we're going to shade on the bottom. So the bottom goes towards the lower y-axis. There you go. Oh, that got away from me right there, but that's okay. Okay, and now we're going to do the second inequality in blue. So I go through the same exact steps. My slope is 1/2. So that means in terms of directions, I'm going up 1 unit and I'm going right 2 units. My y-intercept is +2 on the y-axis. My line is going to be dotted. Again, I look at the inequality for that. So looking at the inequality, there is no or equals to symbol, so my line's going to be dotted, meaning the line is not part of the answer. And then I'm going to shade on the top this time because it says that y is greater than the line, where the answers, the solutions to this inequality are greater than the line, or on top of the line. Okay, so when I graph, I start at +2 on the y-axis. I'm going up 1 unit, right 2 units. Repeat one more time. Up 1 unit, right 2 units. Again, when I connect this, I want to make sure that I connect them with a dotted line going all the way across the graph. So I'm just going to try to be as clean as I can. Okay, and we're shading this one on the top. So again, the top is towards the greater y values. So we're just shading here. And now we have to take a step back, look at our graph. Okay, there are areas on the graph that have no shading. There's areas that have only the blue. There are areas that have only the purple. We only care about the overlap. So I'll outline that in black. So this little triangle, this little Dorito chip right here, this is the area that we care about. The overlap of both purple and blue. That's where we're going to find points that will make our inequality work. Okay, or sorry, both inequalities work. That's what we care about. Okay, so again, essentially the steps are the same as graphing one linear inequality, except now we're graphing two and we're looking exclusively for the overlap. Okay, let's do one more. So again, here are our two inequalities. So I'll do the first one on the left again in purple. So here our slope is -1/3. So in terms of movement, that means down 1 because the numerator is negative, the denominator is positive, so I'm going right 3 units. My y-intercept is -2, again on the y-axis. Looking at the inequality, I have no or equals to symbol, so my line is going to be dotted. And then I'm going to shade on the top because it says y is greater than, so the answers are greater than the line. Okay. Go ahead and graph this. So I'm starting at -2. According to my slope, I'm going down 1, right 3. Let's repeat one more time. Down 1, right 3. Okay. Dotted line all the way across. Again, all the way across the graph so that when you shade, you actually are getting the entire region. Okay. And we're shading on the top. Now I'm going to switch over to blue and we're going to do the second inequality. So here my slope is 4/3. So I'm going up 4 units. I'm going right 3 units. My y-intercept is +3 on the y-axis. Looking at the inequality, now I do have a or equals to symbol, that little line underneath. So that means that the line is going to be solid because it's now included in the answer. And I'm shading on the bottom because it says y is less than. So the answers are less than the line, underneath the line. Okay, I'm starting at +3. Now this is where you have to really not get confused because you're graphing in the shaded area. So just try to be really, really careful. I'm going up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and right 3. Now I'm going to repeat one more time. I'm going to go off the graph, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3. Okay, When I connect these, I'm using a solid line, so I'm just going to try to be as careful as possible when I connect these dots, going all the way across, estimating where that line would go, and then I'm going to shade on the bottom. Okay, so that's again towards the lower y-axis. Now I need to somehow highlight my overlap. I'm going to do that using black. So the area where we have both blue and purple, I'm just going to outline that area, and we get this shape here. Okay. So any point in that area is going to give us a solution that works for both inequalities. And that's essentially what we're looking for. Okay. So this process, very streamlined. You're graphing two inequalities on the same coordinate system, and you're looking for the overlap. Great. Beautiful.